Motrolix.
So let's drive the 2024 Chevy Blazer EV. This in particular is the Blazer EV RS in rear wheel drive form. And the first thing that I notice upon getting in is that there is no vehicle start button. Instead, all I got to do is have the key fob on me, and the key fob is right here. And all it says is for me to press the brake, which I will do right now. And there it is. The vehicle starts up, giving me a pretty nice animation here on the digital instrument cluster. And right off the bat, my first impression is this center display. It is impressive. It's impressive because it's so big. Let's go on a little drive and see how the Blazer EV RS rear wheel drive, how it fares. So as I buckle up here, I also noticed that the way to put this vehicle into drive is via this right hand stalk. So the way to do that is you simply press down on it, and that puts the Blazer EV into drive. If I want to park, I just hit the side button there and it puts it back into park. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, it drives like an EV, so I guess that's good, because that's what would expect from an electric vehicle. I will say that on the way here, I wasn't driving the Blazer EV on the way here, but I did notice that the roads in this area, I'm right outside of San Diego, the roads here are quite bumpy, but they are also quite twisty. So it really will give us a good idea of how the Blazer EV rides on these roads. So right off the bat, I do feel that the Blazer EV is really planted. I feel like it's very sure-footed and quite confident on the road. Again, there's quite a few bumps here. It's soaking in the bumps quite well. This is really my first few seconds driving the Blazer EV in my life, and that's what I feel. I feel that it's soaking up the bumps quite well, and it's doing so, in a very confident fashion, in a very sure-footed fashion. We're gonna have a little curve here, it seems. So let's take that and see how it handles. Yeah, oh yeah, it does quite well indeed. Not much body roll, and that is a characteristic that the Blazer EV shares with its platform mate, the Cadillac Lyriq. The Lyriq also has not much body roll as well, and that is ultimately because the placement of the battery pack is essentially in the floor of the Blazer EV, as well as in the Cadillac Lyriq. Batteries are in the floor, so the heaviest component of the vehicle is in the floor, which is obviously where you want it for the lowest center of gravity possible. A low center of gravity, of course, enables all of these sure-footed handling and really capable handling characteristics. So this is the rear wheel drive model, as I mentioned earlier, and it is rated at 340 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. Let's see how that feels during acceleration. Yeah, it's got plenty of get up and go. So this, the same exact drivetrain as what is in the rear wheel drive Cadillac Lyriq. Again, 340 horsepower, 325 pound-feet of torque. Here's another turn here. Nice long sweeper. Let me take that. Oh yeah, it takes it quite well. Minimal body roll. These are fixed dampers, so this is not a fancy suspension by any stretch. Not a adaptive suspension, so it's not like it's magnetic ride control. These are, fixed dampers, steady state dampers rather. But they do a great job, nonetheless, of soaking up the bumps and keeping the body planted in curves. So great news on the handling front. Here is another chance at some acceleration. I'm gonna plant the throttle. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! And just like that, I went from 30 to 50 in a split second. It pushes you back into the seat, and it feels really good. The acceleration is that of an EV. It's smooth, it's linear. Something else I've noticed is that there is surprisingly a very little amount of noise, vibration, or harshness here. So the NVH levels are very, very low. And that is another characteristic that the Blazer EV seems to share with the Lyriq, another vehicle that is great when it comes to NVH. Okay, so I have an opportunity here to really plant it. No traffic. Here we go. Oh, that's just wonderful. So I went from 0 to 50, 0 to 49 miles an hour, just like that. That is quite impressive. I really do like the way the Blazer EV drives. I should also note that I really do appreciate the HUD, the head-up display. The graphics on it are clear. It's telling me currently the speed as well as my navigation route. It's also telling me the speed limit. Like I said, the graphics are clear. And the cool thing here is that this appears to be GM's next generation head-up display, which really improves its performance from a visibility standpoint for those who are wearing sunglasses like I am currently. The polarization in some sunglasses, and most sunglasses that are polarized, I imagine, the polarization really kind of degrades the performance of GM's last generation head-up displays. That is not the case whatsoever with the head-up display in the 2024 Chevy Blazer EV. So that's great news. The braking is good. The brake pedal feel is good. I'm really impressed with just how well the Blazer EV drives. And just, you know, from the first few minutes of driving it, I have not been able to find anything negative to say about its driving performance. And that is very much in line with my initial driving impressions of the Cadillac Lyriq, the rear-wheel drive Cadillac Lyriq that I drove, oh man, I think it was over a year ago at this point. This car reminds me very much of the Lyriq. And of course, that makes sense because, again, the Blazer EV and the Lyriq share the same general architecture, the same general vehicle platform. So really good news all around when it comes to driving the Blazer EV in the twisties. I am a fan of the steering wheel as well, I should say that. The rim is quite thick and it's quite comfortable. I do have a Regen on-demand paddle here on the left side of the steering wheel, so that's great. I can use that instead of the brake to slow the vehicle down while also taking advantage of the regenerative braking capabilities of the Blazer EV. So that's, again, really good news. The visibility is really good. The forward visibility is great. The windshield is really huge. It's expansive. The side windows are also quite large. And I do appreciate the fact that the mirrors are actually mounted lower on the body. So they are pedestal mounted, meaning that they're not attached at the A-pillar. They're really attached to the door itself, lower on into the door. But the way that this mount is executed, it really is kind of a short mount, and then the mirror comes from it. And that results in substantially better outward visibility, meaning that the wing mirrors are not taking up so much space so as to diminish outward visibility. The mirrors here, they look small. They actually have, they might have less glass in them than what one might want optimally. So there does appear to be less glass here in the mirror overall. But I do appreciate the fact that I can see more outward, whether I'm looking this way or that way. I can see more going out instead of having this big old mirror housing kind of take up a lot of room. As far as the rear windows, the visibility through them appears to be good. And then out of the back window, well, I do have the rear camera mirror going right now, but if I were to flip it back here and adjust it like so, I can tell you that the rear glass is actually quite small. And really, that's what the rear camera mirror is for. So I'm going to flip this back and enjoy the view that way. And that brings me to the seat. The seat itself is quite comfortable. So this is the RS model. So you do have this faux leather treatment on the outside of the seat, and then the inside it appears to be cloth. But it is a nice cloth. It's got some nice perforations to it, which is great. and it does look good. So it's not a low-grade cloth. I know a lot of people, when they think of cloth, they think about, you know, more base cars, a car that is, you know, not well equipped. In the case of the Blazer EV RS, the cloth here actually combines quite well with the overall demeanor and character of the vehicle. Kind of gives it this sporty look, and it's almost like an Alcantara-like material, but I don't think that this is ultimately Alcantara. So as far as first driving impressions are concerned, I have to say that the Blazer EV seems to be a winner. This thing is comfortable when you want it to be. It is agile when you want it to be. If you want to push it and do some spirited driving, it will simply comply with that, and maybe even more than that. Maybe it will even play along with that spirited driving as well. The cabin looks good. The center display, man, this thing is excellent. 17.7 inches of just huge display. I can't say enough good things about it. And the seating position, the driver's seat, all of that is well done, quite comfortable. And, well, the electric powertrain, this, of course, being an EV, well, I think that speaks for itself. Not only is it very smooth, but it's also quite refined and, you know, just a nice place to be in. I really do appreciate all of these little details, like the red stitching throughout the cabin, the blue stitching throughout the cabin as well. I appreciate being able to get up and go just like this, so it's quite quick. I will do a 0 to 60 test here in a bit, and I'll publish that in a separate video. But again, going back to just the initial driving impressions, this thing feels good, and it's a nice place to be in, and it drives really, really well. I really also do like this oversized sunroof. I didn't mention that, but it is present and accounted for. So quite a nice vehicle indeed. The only downside that I can see is, well, as it's priced and as it sits right now, this particular unit is priced just around the $60,000 mark. Now you compare that to the internal combustion engined Blazer, which, you know, in RS form, it costs right around the, you know, $45,000 mark. Maybe you can get it up to 50. So you are looking at a $10,000, roughly $10,000, maybe $15,000 difference, with the Blazer EV obviously being more expensive. But there is the $7,500 tax credit currently, as I record this, that is applicable to those who purchase the Blazer EV. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And the other thing to keep in mind is that the Blazer EV is leaps and bounds better, more refined, has more technology, bigger screens, drives better. It's just leaps and bounds beyond what the ICE Blazer, the internal combustion engined Blazer, can currently offer. So even though the Blazer EV is more expensive, it also is a substantially better and more modern vehicle than the internal combustion engine Blazer. For GMAuthority.com and the Motrolix Network, I'm Alex Luft. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Motrolix.
So here's a nice twisty road here. I don't have much traffic, and that means that I can actually take the Blazer EV through some twisties without having to do it at a crawling pace. So here we go. Going downhill. Here's a nice, what appears to be a sweeper. Oh, yes. Yes. This thing can play. This is a very, very capable EV. The handling is just really dialed in. It's a little bit disconnected. I mean, this is obviously electric power steering, so there's not a single analog anything here. But nevertheless, it does feel a little connected, and that is actually quite welcome news.
Motrolix.